The first Napalm Death record in 5 years, Throes of Joy and the Jaws of Defeatism. How are we feeling about it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, similar to Apex Predator, the last one. I kind of get the same feelings from it. You know, it's along the same lines in terms of it's spontaneous but very developed. You know, at the same time. So yeah, I get a good feeling, and the feedback from people so far has been like with Apex, which was pretty much kind of. It was really weird because we didn't really get any negative feedback at all, you know, and that's a really strange concept, you know, especially for a dreadfully noisy fucking band like us, you know. So it was pretty positive all round, and you know, similarly, this one seems to be heading in that direction. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up because I know that it was a large gap, but I distinctly remember when Apex Predator came out that some very large publications, and also publications that don't typically dabble in the heavy stuff too much, gave it very, very, very good marks.
Yeah,
it seemed like a turning point to me.
Yeah, and it's weird because, you know, the way we approach things, we don't sort of model ourselves to you know, widen the net, so to speak. That's just not the way we operate. You know, for us, it's all about as good as we can make the art first. Whatever falls into place afterwards, well, so be it. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the minute you start to model yourself, trying to in some way chase some kind of commercial, you know, hook, certainly for a band like Napalm Death, it potentially disastrous, you know. So, I mean, we've sort of been through that before, which was a situation not of our own making, and I'm kind of keen not to repeat the same mistakes. I don't want to go down that path. You know, napalm is napalm is napalm at the end of the day. It's you know, it's all about. It's the art and the ideas that matter. You know, anything else beyond that is just as it is. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, so
totally. It's interesting that you say that because from my perspective, I'm, by the way, long time Napalm Death fan since Code is Red came out when I was in high school, I think.
Right.
So this current lineup of the band is sort of my classic lineup. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I think for a lot of people my age, early 30s, it is.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I actually think this is your most accessible record.
It's weird because, again, you know, this shows you the fantastic subjectivity of music, you know, because there are other people who've heard it so far who have said the exact opposite. You know what I mean? They've said, God, it's dense. You know, it's the densest, most craziest thing you've done. So it just goes to show, you know, that not everybody, but there is, you know, people hear things differently, you know. And again, you know, it's interesting you say that, you know. Certainly from my perspective, when I was writing, that was never a consideration for me. I don't write songs like that. And, you know, I would just feel very, it'd be really uncomfortable for me to do stuff like that. You know, it's just not my thing. But, I mean, the influences on the album, I mean, I guess any Napalm album's like that, but it's markedly very, very diverse in that it hits very many different points. And some of the stuff kind of sounds like very post-punky, which I think maybe people think gives it the accessible edge, you know, because it's not the full-on attack that we usually do. It is extreme, definitely, because whatever Napalm does, I would argue, is extreme, you know, but in a different way, you know. And we are quite that's one thing we are quite comfortable with, you know. As long as something's abrasive, confrontational, we don't limit ourselves to anywhere on the spectrum, you know. We'll go all kinds of places to achieve the artistic results that we want, you know. So
Yeah, you're leading me exactly into where I had intended on going. Because I'm a big metalhead, but I'm also a goth fan, a post-punk
Yeah.
fan, and
Mm.
a diehard Killing Joke fan.
Yeah.
And so I remember, before this record came out, you released the one-off single, "The Knowledge Ravaged by Brute Force,"
Yeah.
and I adored it.
Oh, thanks very much.
Uh,
Very
and I
kind.
was very happy to hear not only that there's songs on the new record like Amoral that keep
Yeah.
exploring that territory, but that you're
Sure.
confident enough to release Amoral as a single.
Yeah. 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 It's yeah, I mean, it's Killing Joke is a massive band for Napalm Death. It has been arguably since the start, really, but markedly since the mid-90s in the lineup that I'm in. It's Geordie's guitar work was completely unique. And also, of course, on that single that you referred to, there's a Sonic Youth cover. Same thing with Thurston Moore. Huge influence guitar-wise on what we do. The discordance. The unconventional way of playing. So that's just what we do. We take that stuff and we give it a napalm twist, and that's just how things turn out. Yeah, I mean, and Moral actually is Shane's song. Shane wrote both the lyrics and the music for that one, so that was his song, so yeah.
I'm glad we got on to Shane. I know you two don't live together, but I thought if he for some reason was on the call, I put my little Godzilla figurine in the background just for him.
Okay, yeah. He's got eagle eyes. He doesn't see many things, but he's got eagle eyes for stuff like that, so.
The press materials say this is the first album that he's got sort of full writing credits on all the music.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because Mitch obviously hasn't played with us for 5 years. John is kind of the live guitarist, really. He's a bit more than that, and he's hugely valued, for us. But the core of the band is me, Shane, and Danny. So we are the writers, effectively. So we actually, although Mitch hasn't played with us, we offered. We said to him, "Look, do you want to write some stuff?" And he did have a couple of bits and pieces, but I think because of his situation, because he's relocated back to America, and he's got. I'm assuming he has quite a few pressures with his family. His whole family's gone over to the States now. I think he didn't want the pressure, because it would have been quite immense, because it was quite late on in the writing process. So yeah, he opted not to, which was fine. We totally respected that. But we said, at least, do you want to come and play on the album? Because his style is very distinctive. His playing style. So he did. He came over and played. But yeah, Shane wrote all of the music. And I did pretty much like 99% of the lyrics. The usual thing. So
I think that is the most unhinged that I recall ever hearing you. So like where was that performance coming from?
Well, see, here's the thing. So we can make a lot of direct connections with it. So there's a band from Switzerland called Young Gods. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
I am.
So I mean, they make really great artistic albums, and especially the first album, which is loosely speaking, an industrial, extreme yet quirky masterpiece. It really is. And so, as we are wont to do in Napalm, Shane had the song. He says, "I've got this song. It's just like Young Gods, and it's only going to be bass. There's going to be no guitars on there at all." I was like, fantastic, So I tried to emulate what I thought a Young Gods song would sound like with the vocals, and with the French title, because they are Swiss French, and they a lot of the titles are in that French tongue, it's French language. So that's what I did. I was like, well, if we're going to do a homage, it's got to be a homage. That's why it's got a French title. But it still has meaning. The title, it means the joy of not living. A joie de vivre, as we know, we use it in English. It's we've adopted it into English language, joy of life, joy of living. So I wanted to reverse that and have it joy de ne pas vivre, means joy of not living. So yeah, I was just kind of using the language, but yeah, it very much takes its cues from Young Gods. So
speaking here right now, specifically as an American, like, it's been a wild year for us. It's been a year where I've had to crank this new record and Utilitarian and Smear Campaign a great deal to keep myself on the straight and narrow, my friend.
Okay, all right, fair enough, yeah. I mean, what's my take on it? I think that it's been a tricky situation for everybody. I think and anybody that's got to deal with it, I think on an organisational level has had a nightmare time of things. I think but I don't think this is a health situation. The primary sort of the primary directive should be to protect people in general, and especially the vulnerable. That should be the very first directive. The fact that it has been politicised into, anti-maskers, anti-vaccine, all that kind of stuff, I think kind of hasn't helped anything really at all, and the fact that some people still consider this virus to be a myth, I've seen what it does with my own eyes. I luckily I haven't had any relatives directly who've died, but I've seen the consequence of it, and it's a very real thing, and I think the fact that if you get it, you don't know how it's going to go. You could not experience any symptoms at all, or you could be in intensive care, within days, so think of the unpredictability of it is pretty crazy stuff, but yeah, so it's a strange one, I think you'll forgive me, but the guy you've got the helm over there is the last person you want in sort of directing this kind of thing, and I think it seems from the outside to have been fairly disastrous from day one, so that's essentially my take on it,
I wonder from your perspective, this record that you've just released, it's obviously very relevant to my life. Songs like Fuck the Factoid, songs like also Backlash Just Because, that tie into this sort of like powder keg experience of just being part of social life or the discourse, as one might say.
Yeah, I mean, in the context of dehumanization of people, that's where they actually
absolutely
tie in, because fuck the factoid. Factoids are used, assembled together to discredit, discriminate, dehumanize people. So that's where the connection is. Same as Backlash Just Because, in other words, a backlash against people's just because you can, even though you have no concept of the fact that this is a fellow human being, that you are so incandescent about their very existence, so
it's sort of funny to think, but like Napalm Death has now had this like over 30-year career, and your songs are still relevant. It's been 30 years since Harmony Corruption, and that record still feels relevant in part for these reasons,
Okay. But first of all, Joseph, I don't, the word career never sits very comfortably with me, because, a career to me kind of feels like it's an obligation that you have to go to do a task every day just for the sake of doing it, you know what I mean? Because, and Napalm was never like, it's like that for me. It's a vibrant, constantly shifting, constantly evolving thing. You know, it's something that's almost hard to hold on to sometimes, you know, if that makes any sense.
It does.
And I love it because of that. You know, it kind of feels on the edge a little bit at times, and creatively and internally, you know, and that's what's exciting to me. If Napalm was just to become a boring, you know, kind of sterile environment, you know, and you must meet these targets, you know, I'm not fucking interested in that. You know, it's Napalm is ideas and arts for art's sake. You know, it's not a career, you know, in the sense that I understand it.